Previously on Unscripted.
I played so much pickleball that I hurt my knee and I had to take a few days off.
Are you ready for the pro pickleball circuit?
I would love it if I was on that, but I'm nowhere near good enough for that.
I don't think you have to be that good, do you?
You're listening to Unscripted with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
Okay, Skip, so today we're going to talk about Jack Black movies, but before we get to that, since we are in the month of March, we are in the midst of March Madness. We're recording this on a Saturday, so tonight is the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight begins tonight, meaning that there are 8 teams left in March Madness, and pretty much all the favored teams, except for one, have advanced to the Elite Eight. Have you been watching any of the games?
Well, I think you know the answer to that. Yes, although I didn't really watch last night, but I mean, that first Thursday of the tournament is like a glorious day, honestly. It's so much fun, right? Maybe like one of the best sports days of the year. And then the Friday is just as good, but it's just because Thursday's first, so like it's better. But yeah, the first Thursday and Friday are so good. Upsets, buzzer beaters. I mean, I know you just said like, you know, it's pretty much like all the favorites have advanced to the Elite Eight, but there were upsets in the first round. You know, we did see some McNeese States of the world and these kind of schools advancing. Yeah, March Madness is so much fun, and I mean, anybody who's listened to us since forever know that we are both Duke fans. Actually, for those of you watching the live stream, Josh is wearing a Duke sweatshirt right now, and yeah, it's fun when Duke is good. Let's hope they win tonight. Yikes! I don't know. I mean, all the games are scary when you're into like 1 seeds versus 2 seeds, and even the last game 1 versus 4. I mean, like all these teams are good. Anything could happen. That's what makes March Madness so good. It's like single elimination, right? Like you have a bad game, you don't shoot well, you're done, right?
Exactly. So obviously I've been watching almost all the games, and it is one of my favorite times of the year. But I will say that it's not as good as it used to be, I think. I am very annoyed with all the commercials, not so much the commercials, but all the stoppages in play and all the timeouts. And what's even worse now is they seem to review every single play. Like there was one game I was watching, it was the Baylor game, where there was less than a second left in the game. Less than a second. And it took
that was the worst.
It took 10 minutes to do that 1 second because they kept having to review, is there 0.3 seconds left or is there 0.5 seconds left? And they had to review it. And it was so annoying. Just end the game already. It's over. There's less than a second left. The team that's behind is not going to win.
And it had no bearing on the game, honestly, that extra 0.3 or point. Like, it was so stupid. I didn't understand why they were reviewing that. Look, there are more reviews now because what they do review in the middle of games, like only what they do review in the middle of the games is for flagrant fouls. Those are the ones that happen where they think that there was like a dirty play, someone gets hit. Usually it's like someone getting hit in the head, stuff like this. But I get it. Like the player safety is important, but they need to do something about the amount of timeouts. Like the amount of timeouts is just astounding. Like we were texting like throughout all the games, but like there was the one game, I think it was last game, the game with Duke versus Arizona. Like they have a commercial, they come back, there's one play, and then in the timeout, and they go to another commercial. I'm like, how is that even allowed? Like, how is that allowed? Like, that's not shouldn't be. The network should know. Like, they should ban that. You know, that's no good.
I think I know because you asked me that question when it happened, and I think I figured it out. So what happens is when they get below 4 minutes in the game, the first stop after 4 minutes, they have to do a TV commercial. They have to.
Yeah.
And so what happened was with like 4:05 or 4:10 left in the game, one of the teams called a timeout. So they did a commercial for that. They come back, they played about 10 seconds. It was below 4 minutes, and then they had to do the TV timeout. So that's why that happened, which is annoying. It shouldn't be allowed. You're absolutely right.
With the emergence, and it's not a new concept, of the TV timeout, coaches are smart and they know when the TV timeouts are coming and they plan for it. So because coaches are using the TV timeouts as their own actual timeouts, they should have actually one less timeout that they could call.
I agree. In fact, I would
Yeah.
take away all of the timeouts. I would take them all away.
They should have like one per half or two per half. I don't know. They have way too many, right? The coaches, like, I don't know how many there are.
Way too many.
But you mentioned like that it's not as good as it used to be. And part of that is just that like we're old geezers now and we're nostalgic for the old days and we romanticize the old times. But like part of the reason why it's not as good is because of the broadcast. And I just told you that Thursday and Friday are so good, but the Saturday and Sunday of the first weekend are not as good because the games don't overlap. And I know that sounds stupid because they're actually letting you watch every single game one after another, after another, after another. But it was better when it wasn't like that, right? It was better when they overlapped.
Right. So now what they do is they don't overlap during the day in the afternoon on Saturday and Sunday, but they do at night. So they are staggered at night. So they have more games at night than they used to now.
I mean, part of it is because in the old days, it only was on CBS. So there was no way you could do anything.
Right. And so that's the other thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because now when a game ends on CBS, they never cut away to another game because they're not allowed to anymore because it's on TBS or TNT or True TV. So they go to the studio and then you have to hear these guys in the studio talking for half an hour. And, you know, I can deal with them for 5 minutes. I don't want to deal with them for 30 minutes.
Speaking of True TV, what the hell is it? What is True TV?
I don't know. It's kind of like the CW or something. It's just another network in the States.
I can almost guarantee you that the biggest rating that True TV had this entire year was the play-in game of North Carolina. And that was on purpose. Like, people were complaining that North Carolina shouldn't have been in the tournament and why are they here and how they didn't deserve to make it. The committee put them in the playoff game on purpose, and specifically in that game to do the networks a favor because they know that all the crazy North Carolina fans, and they have a huge cachet of fans, are going to actually watch that play-in game instead of watching like St. Mary's versus St. Paul's for a 16-seed playoff game, right? So like that's the whole thing is made for TV, and there's nothing wrong with that because that's what it is. But I mean, it's just a little bit strange.
The other thing that annoys me is the officiating. So, for example, I don't know if you were watching on Sunday night when Maryland won the game. The guy who scored the winning basket traveled. Like everyone who watches that replay will tell you that he traveled. It's not just me saying that. But they don't call it anymore. The college basketball has become just like the NBA. They don't call traveling.
But you said the most important thing, anybody who watches the replay. So in real time, when I saw that play in real time, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything of it. And only after the fact, when millions, all the talking heads get on TV and everybody starts looking at it, breaking it down into like 1/10 of a second freeze frames of the call, do you see? Oh yeah, I think he might have traveled. That's the way it goes, you know. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like we can't sit here and complain that the games are taking too long and that there's too many reviews, and then ask them what should they review every single play in the game?
Definitely not.
So then you have to live with the referee's calls. But you're right. The traveling is something that's almost never called. And the most annoying traveling calls are when, like, are bizarre ones sometimes where guys are just, like, going for loose balls on the ground and they roll around a bit and they call traveling. I'm like, no, that's not traveling. He's just jumping for a ball. I never understood those.
So again, we're going on way too long about this. But another thing that annoys me, so if a guy's taking a shot and your pinky hits his arm, they call a foul on you, right?
Yeah.
But yet you see when there's a guy holding or dribbling the ball, you know, in the key and he's bumping the defender and the defender's bumping him, they're literally elbowing each other and there's no call on that.
Well, I mean, it's like that in a lot of sports too. I mean, hockey is the worst for that, you know, because you can get a penalty for hooking where you barely touch the guy with your stick just because you've interfered with his progress of skating or stick handling, right? You hook a guy, right? And they call a penalty. 2 minutes later, someone could literally almost die in the corner, getting smashed into wood and glass by someone else and their stick, and there's no call, and everyone's like, that's a great hit. You know, like, right?
Anyway,
So,
one more
win.
thing that frustrates me, I've mentioned this before. So you'll see this happen a lot where the shooter, he's got the ball and he fakes that he's going to shoot. So the defender jumps up and then the shooter shoots and the shooter lunges himself into the defender, but they call the foul on the defender. That is the most annoying thing.
They've done a better job of taking that away the last few years. The NBA has kind of made some rules around that because it was getting too egregious, and I think the NCAA has followed. So, yes, it's annoying, but it's not as bad as it was because now the referees can say who initiated the contact, right? So if they think the shooter is the one that actually initiated the contact, then it's their fault, right? So, but yes, is an annoying thing. And as you can tell, we are very passionate about March Madness.
Okay, well, we've gone on way too long about this. So do we have any listener mail?
Mailbag.
Yes, we do have some listener mail. There are other things going on in the world besides March Madness. I'm talking about in the world of sports, and that's the start of Major League Baseball, right? Opening day.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because baseball should not start in March. And in fact, baseball should just wait until March Madness is over to start. But that's just my opinion.
I think you're right. So I did get a note from our good friend Mark from Philadelphia. He knows that we love stupid baseball injuries.
There's so many of them.
So he sent me an article. Phillies left-handed reliever Matt Strom told reporters on Monday that he tore his nail on his middle finger while packing his daughter's toys.
I believe that. And so what, he's out for a month now?
I don't know if he's out for a month, but he's out. So, the dangers of little kids' toys could put you on the injured list in baseball. It's very, 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 very physical sport, that baseball. Takes its toll.
We'll be right back after this to talk about Jack Black movies.
You're listening to Unscripted.
I'm Joseph DeMedictis.
And I'm Ross Acetrillo.
And we're doing this podcast so we don't have to go home and get a real job.
Exactly.
That's right. And we're doing it to tell you about our pursuit of the dreams we've had since being a kid, being young, trying to get into the entertainment industry. We're mid-career, sort of. We're kind of halfway broken in a way. But we both have these big dreams and big goals.
Aspirations, really.
For our careers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. This podcast is about the journey through the industry, trying to make it, but trying not to have to give up.
So listen to our podcast on all the places you might listen to a podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We have our own YouTube channel where you can watch the video version. All the links can be found at you'llnevermakeit.ca. Here's hoping we do.
And now, back to Unscripted.
Okay, Skip, we're back.
So we had a good time last time reminiscing about and going over our favorite Gene Hackman movies. So your idea actually was, why don't we just pick some other actors that we like and do a similar kind of topic. So this week we landed on Jack Black. And I know it sounds obscure, but he's been in literally a million movies and TV shows. So you gave me a list of different ones. So I'm like, yeah, Jack Black, that sounds good. I can get behind that. So, that's what we're going to do here today, just to give you the history of Jack Black. He's born in 1969 in Santa Monica, California. He has 199 acting credits on his IMDb profile, which is absolutely incredible to think of. But I looked at them so closely. So many of them are like weird stuff, voiceover, cartoons, animated stuff. He's all over the place, this guy. Also, there's tons of credits for Tenacious D, which is his band that he has, which is kind of like I call it like a Led Zeppelin comedy cover band, I guess. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but that's kind of what Tenacious D is. The most amazing thing is I'm like, okay, the guy's got 199 acting credits. What's the first thing he was ever in? And it's pretty incredible because at 1982, at 13 years old, he was in a commercial for the Atari video game Pitfall. Do you remember this game Pitfall?
I don't think I do.
You were like, your guy was like a kind of Indiana Jones, and he had to like swing over like pits and quicksand. He had to like jump in trees and stuff. It was an Atari game anyways. The cool thing about Jack Black is that he's had like a million small roles. And when I say small roles, I'm talking about like really small roles. And then eventually those small roles led to bigger roles. And now he's a massive Hollywood star. I had absolutely no problem making my list. I got 5. I got a list of like 10, and then I narrowed it down to 5 very, very quickly. So my 5 kind of wrote themselves. And I actually think we're gonna have 3 the same. I'm very, very confident that we're gonna have 3 the same.
So I agree. I think we're going to have 3 the same also. But I actually did have a difficult time because I looked, and yes, he's been in a million things, but a lot of them are TV shows, which don't count for our episode today. And sometimes he's like in a music video, but that doesn't count either. So I couldn't count any of those things. And while I've heard of a lot of his movies, I've actually only seen 7 movies that he's in. However, of those 7, in 3 of them, I think he's only in one scene. And he might not even be credited in the movie credits. So I didn't count those 3 because, you know, if he's only in one scene and his character doesn't even have a name, I didn't count those 3. So that left me with
if the character doesn't have a name, I guess that's pretty small.
Right,
I mean,
like sometimes he's like
count
delivery guy or something. That's his character. Doesn't have a name.
or worse, delivery guy number 3.
Right. So that left me with only 4 movies when I removed those. So what I did was I looked at a bunch of movies, and just last night I watched a movie that he's the main character. So that's my 5th movie. Now, did I really like the movie? We'll get to that in a minute. But so I do have a list of 5, but I had to watch a movie last night in order to get to 5.
It's amazing. All right, so I think we got to start and I think you have to start because I want to hear what movie you watched last night, and I want to hear what movie it is. Yeah.
Number 5.
Okay, so the movie I watched last night is called The Polka King. It's from 2018. Like, you've heard of polka music, right?
Of course, but I've never heard of this movie.
Okay, so neither did I. However, it's interesting because, first of all, the movie's based on a true story. So the true story is a man, his name is Jan Lowen, moves from Poland to the United States. This is years ago. And he starts a band, a polka band, and he starts touring all over the United States. And most of their fans are elderly people who like, you know, klezmer music. So they're touring and whatever, and he marries an American girl and they have a kid. However, the guy, he's not making that much money. He actually opens a store where you can buy, you know, like t-shirts and stuff from his band. But like no one goes to the store. It's hardly, you know, if they're lucky, if they get 2 customers a day. So he starts taking, he basically does a Ponzi scheme. He starts taking money from his fans, you know, telling them, I'll give you 12% interest where the bank is only giving you 3%. And he gets away with this for a few years until finally someone realizes what he's doing. And so I don't know what the name of the agency is, but they go to his store and they're like, you can't be doing this. This is illegal. And the guy who's representing this agency, it's JB Smoove.
Oh, I love him.
But he's only in like 2 scenes, so he's hardly in this movie. But anyway, so JB Smoove's character goes there and says, you can't be doing this. It's illegal. And so Jan Lowen, he acts all, oh, geez, I didn't know. Sorry, whatever. I'll give everyone back their money. And apparently he does give everyone back their money. But then a year or 2 goes by and he starts to do it again under a different name. And it takes them 5 years, maybe more, to figure out that he's doing this again. And so then they come to him again and they actually arrest him this time and he has to go to jail for 5 years. And then when he gets out of jail, he goes back to doing his music and he says that he wants to pay back everyone that he took money from. So I don't know what the end result is, but so getting to this movie, Jack Black plays Jan Lowen, which is interesting because he actually has to have an accent in this movie, like a Polish accent. So this is like a role, not like any of his other roles in any of his other movies.
But I mean, I could see him with a Polish accent, no?
Well, yeah, he does it really well, actually.
The problem with Jack Black is like, is the movie supposed to be like a comedy or is it like a drama? Or like, it sounds like a drama.
It sounds like a drama, but there are funny parts. I think if you
Okay.
Google it, it's listed as a comedy.
Okay.
But because there is actually an actual documentary that was created, which is not a comedy. I
Right,
haven't
okay.
seen the actual documentary, so this is based on that.
So the thing with Jack Black is that it's so hard to take him seriously, right? Like he's so over the top and crazy and manic and weird and like hyperactive in all his roles and just plays them so well in that kind of role that if you ever see him in like something serious, which I'm going to get to later on in my list, and I think that we have the same movie at one point, it's sort of weird, right? To see him play like normal. So anyways, I'm glad so I guess I'm not going to check out The Polka King because you didn't really rave about it.
Well, so by the way, it's a Netflix movie. Like, it was made specifically for Netflix. If I were you, I'd watch the trailer because it's only 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then you decide if you want to watch the movie or not.
All right, I'll do that. I mean, Netflix has a lot of great content, but I'll tell you one thing, they have a lot of lousy movies. Like, Netflix movies are not good.
I agree with you for the most part, yes.
Yeah. All right, number 5 for me is Tropic Thunder. Have you ever seen Tropic Thunder?
I have not.
Really?
I haven't.
So, do you even know what it's about, or?
I actually don't.
Okay, so it's from 2008. It's a movie about a group of actors who are making a movie, and all those actors are playing soldiers in Vietnam, and then they actually end up stuck in the jungles in Vietnam, and they kind of have to be soldiers. So like it's really like kind of bizarre. It has like this all-star cast with, well, Jack Black is one of the main characters, Ben Stiller, Robert Downey Jr., Jay Baruchel. They're all the like Hollywood actors who are, you know, making this movie in Vietnam about soldiers. It is really, really funny. There are so many incredible laugh out loud moments. Do I think Jack Black is like the star of this movie? No, because I think Stiller and Robert Downey Jr. really like steal the show in a sense. He's just fine in his role. But I mean, I would highly I don't know if you'd like Tropic Thunder, but like I recommend it to anybody. And like I think Robert Downey Jr. is like so brilliant in this movie. It's like it's beyond like how good he is.
It sounds interesting. I had no clue what it was about.
It's a total comedy. It's a total comedy. I'm making it sound like it's serious, but like it's totally ridiculous. Like the whole thing is nuts, right? So
Okay.
Number 4.
Okay, so next on my list, it's a movie that I mentioned on our last episode, Enemy of the State, which is why I thought of doing an episode about Jack Black because I mentioned him last week or 2 weeks ago. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you all about Enemy of the State because we talked about it on our last episode, but I do like the character that Jack Black plays in this movie, and he's actually one of the few people that doesn't die at the end.
I mean, he made a whole early career of playing these side roles, right? Like he's the helper, he's the analyst, he's the quirky neighbor, he's the like I don't know, like he had a million roles like that, right? So
and I feel like I don't even think he's really acting. I think that's how he really is in real life.
Well, that's what I'd like to know. Like I'd like to meet this guy and see, are you as crazy as you seem? Because anyways, I'm gonna ask that question again when I get to like my number 1 movie. So my number 4 movie is a movie that I'm sure you've never seen. It's actually an animated film from 2008 called Kung Fu Panda.
You're right, I haven't seen it. I have heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Now, I don't know. You could Google Kung Fu Panda. I think there's like 4 movies, and like there's been like 3 sequels after the original. And not only that, I think there's like a TV series. Like this is definitely Jack Black he plays the voice of the lead character, Po, the panda, right? And I am 100% sure, I didn't look this up, I don't even have to look it up, I'm positive, he's made more money from Kung Fu Panda franchise than anything else that he's ever done. Because he's done a million things. Like, it's everywhere. There's theme park rides, like Universal Studios, right? Like, it's everywhere. If you're a kid, I mean, my kids were little when this movie came out. We went to see it in the theater. They watched it 1,000 times on DVD. They know it off by heart. It's a great movie. And it's funny because we haven't talked about it for a million years. And then one day, Matthew and his friends are over on a Sunday afternoon. We're watching NFL football. Keep in mind, my son is in his 20s, right? Like, he's not a kid anymore. And one of his friends, they mention Kung Fu Panda. And I'm like, why are you guys talking about Kung Fu Panda? And Matthew's like, you know so-and-so? I'm like, yeah. He goes, that's his favorite movie. Like, one of Matthew's friends will tell you that Kung Fu Panda is his favorite movie of all time. Like, that's the impact it had on them when they were kids, right? So it's kind of cool.
Like you said, if you look at Jack Black's IMDb page, it's littered with Kung Fu Panda all over it.
Everywhere, because there's so many things that he did, like the voices and all that. So
all right.
Number 3.
Okay, so the next movie on my list is, and you said we have 3 the same. So if we're going to have 3 the same, then this one has to be one of them. It's from 2006. It's called The Holiday.
Sure.
Okay. So anyway, just to let you know who's in The Holiday, this is a great cast. Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, Edward Burns, Eli Wallach, who I like because Tim Wallach's nickname was Eli, and John Krasinski. Of course, Jack Black is in the movie as well. So just to let you know what the movie's about, Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz, they trade houses. One of them lives in the United States. The other one lives in England. They trade houses during the Christmas holidays. They don't even know each other. They've never met each other. And so one goes to the United States, the other one goes to England, and they spend like a couple of weeks there, and then they meet other people while they're there. So Jack Black's role in the movie, he works with Cameron Diaz. She's a film producer or something like that.
Specifically, she's a film trailer producer. She makes the best movie trailers.
Right. So anyway, Jack Black goes to Cameron Diaz's house one day because he has to drop something off or pick something up, but she's not there. She's in England. So that's when he meets Kate Winslet. Anyway, him and Kate become friends, and then they become friends with the neighbor who is Eli Wallach. And it's a good movie. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's always on during the holidays, obviously. So I could watch it every year.
Holiday is a great movie, and yes, it's going to be on my list.
And by the way, this is one role. Like, Jack Black doesn't really play a goofy, crazy guy in this movie.
No.
He actually plays like a normal guy.
It's very, very weird to see him in this movie after seeing him in all the other stuff that we talked about and everything that he's in. It's like, it's bizarre. And he hasn't really done anything after this that was like that, which led me to believe that, like, he was trying to be a serious actor and then it didn't work and he just wanted to be himself, right? So
I guess so.
all right, number 3 for me, and it's probably, we're going to probably flip-flop the top 3 here in different orders, but is High Fidelity. I read the book High Fidelity, and the book is by British author Nick Hornby. And it's probably, like, at the time, and I should go back and reread it, I absolutely loved this book. I thought it was incredible. Like, it's just so well done. And then I remember when the movie was coming out, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this movie. John Cusack's going to be in it. They're going to it's going to be so great. And I was so disappointed. And now it's not a bad movie at all. It's actually a really good movie. It's just that the book was so much better. Like, I just found the book so much more engaging. And they made it was so, the movie is like a little Hollywoodized. But so Jack Black plays Barry, who works for John Cusack in his record store. And he is like, from all accounts, like, what I read is, like, this role in High Fidelity is really what propelled Jack Black's career after this movie. Like, after this, people started to pay attention to him. And he's great because he's like he's a total music snob. He'll make fun of the people that come into the store because they like certain music. He's always like, the banter with him and Cusack is like, and you know what? We should delve into this a little more because the movie is so much about him, John Cusack's character, making top 5 lists, which is what we do, which is exactly what we do. So, you know, for example, they're just in the bookstore and Jack Black's like, okay, quickly, your top 5 favorite songs about death, you know? And then they got to put him on the spot and they got to make a list. It's a really good movie. I wanted to go back and watch the whole movie yesterday. I didn't have time, but instead I just watched the last scene, like where Jack Black sings like with his band. He sings Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On" at this club where they're at. And I know you've mentioned before, but the funniest part is he's like, they introduced the band as Sonic Death Monkey. And then he says, well, we're not Sonic Death Monkey anymore. We're in the process of changing our name to the Kathleen Turner Overdrive. But for tonight, we're Barry Jive and the Uptown Five. It's so incredibly funny, honestly. And then he belts out "Let's Get It On," and everyone's like, what? Like, they can't believe that he can sing. It's really like quite a great movie. I should go back and rewatch it.
Number 2.
So it is next on my list. So obviously it was going to be on my list.
Yeah.
And it is a really, really, really good movie. The book is much better. I agree.
Yeah.
So not only is John Cusack in it, Joan Cusack's also in the movie.
Yeah.
So is Lisa Bonet, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Tim Robbins. So yeah, no, it's a really good movie. I agree with everything you said about it. I actually did watch it recently. I think I watched it in either late December or early January, because it's also on during the holidays all the time, I find, on television.
So does it hold up now when you watch it, like all these years ago, right? Like,
yeah, I think it does. I certainly think it does.
Yeah.
I loved it. As you know, they created a TV show, which I think only lasted one season, and the TV show was not that great.
No.
But the movie is very good. I highly recommend it. You should watch it. You should also read the book. And like you said, yes, Jack Black's character, there's one scene in the movie where a customer comes into the record store and wants to buy a certain record, and he won't let him buy it because the customer has bad taste in music. So he refuses to sell the record to him.
Let me read it to you. I wrote it down in my notes because I was going to talk about this. The customer comes in and says, "You have the song? Do you have I Just Called to Say I Love You by Stevie Wonder? It's for my daughter's birthday." And then he says, "Yeah, we have it." And the customer's like, "Great, can I have it?" And then he tells him, "No, you can't." The customer says, "Why not?" He says, "Well, it's sentimental, tacky crap. Do we look like the kind of store that sells I Just Called to Say I Love You? Go to the mall." And then the customer says, "What's your problem?" He says, "Do you even know your daughter? There's no way she likes that song." "Oh, wait, is she in a coma?" That's the word for word of that sequence. It's really funny.
Great scene.
Yeah. All right. So number 2 for me is The Holiday. You already talked about The Holiday. The main thing about Jack Black here in The Holiday is that he plays it straight. Like, he's not this goofy comedy role. He's a serious. He's just a regular kind of. He likes Kate Winslet, you know. Like it's like he's a normal guy, you know. And like, actually, she kind of likes him because he's a normal guy, which is actually weirdest thing to say because he's not a normal guy in real life. Like, everything we know about Jack Black is not normal, you know. The first thing my wife asked me when I said we were doing Jack Black movies, she's like, "Oh, The Holiday." The Holiday.
I could
She's
hear
like,
her
"The Holiday
saying,
better be in your list." So I said, "Yes, don't worry. The Holiday's number 2 on my list." She's like, "Okay, good. Because she loves that movie. I mean, between The Holiday and Love Actually, those are like definitely her top 2 like Christmas holiday movies. The main thing about The Holiday, and Jack Black is just fine in the movie. He's not the star or anything. This movie's from 2006. So it is from quite a long time ago. And you don't realize how long Cameron Diaz has been acting in movies. And you think of her as this leading lady. But at that time, she really wasn't yet. You know? She is so good in this movie. Like, I remember watching this movie for the first time and thinking, holy crap, Cameron Diaz is amazing. Like, she's so funny. She's so quirky. Well, I mean, obviously, she's beautiful also. But, like, she's just fantastic. Like, honestly, for me, like, she steals the show in The Holiday. So that's all I have to say about that.
Number 1.
Okay, so I'm at number 1, and I'll be shocked if we don't have the same number 1. It must be School of Rock from 2003.
Yes, I have. My number 1 is also School of Rock, 2003.
So, interesting things about this movie. So the movie is about Jack Black. His character is a guy that plays in a band, and he gets kicked out of the band. His name is Dewey Finn. That's the character's name. So he's a guitarist in a rock band, and the band replaces him. So now he's unemployed. But he's living with his friend, Ned Schneebly. I love that name. Mm-hmm. And Ned gets a phone call one day because Ned is a substitute teacher. But Dewey answers the phone and pretends to be Ned because he needs a job. So now Dewey is going to be a substitute teacher at a school for, I don't know if they're 11-year-olds or however old they are, 12-year-olds. And he's never taught kids in his life. So he doesn't even know what subject he's supposed to teach or how to teach it. And what ends up happening is all he knows about is music. So he starts teaching the kids music, and they form a band, and then the band that they form enters the battle of the bands, which is hilarious because they go to this club at night where you have to be at least 18 to get in, and all of them are certainly under 18, and they enter their band into the battle of the bands. Anyway, it's a really funny movie. So the idea for the movie came when writer Mike White from The White Lotus moved into an apartment next to Jack Black, and White would often find Jack Black running naked through the halls or blasting music that you would hear in this movie. So that's why he thought of creating or producing this movie.
So Mike White plays Ned Schneebly
Correct.
in the movie.
Correct.
Yeah. The couple of things, everything you said, perfect synopsis of the movie. Two things. The school that he goes to teach at is this really fancy private school.
Right.
Which makes it even funnier. And then when you say he teaches them music, he doesn't really teach them music. He's trying to teach them rock. He puts on the blackboard this big, like, tree. It's like a family tree, and all the connections between all the rock bands and how it spreads out: prog rock, heavy metal, this, punk, like, and it's like it's really, really well done. Like, anybody who doesn't know anything about rock actually should just watch this movie, like kids now, and they'll learn about like AC/DC, Pink Floyd, Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin. Like it's like a history lesson of rock music in a sense. I mean, obviously, the final scene of the movie where they're at the Battle of the Bands and they sing their song. I mean, it's really amazing, honestly.
It's actually a good song.
It's a great song. It's just so amazing because it's, typical. It's like a typical movie, right? Like, they work really hard and then everything comes together. And then the girl who's too shy to be a singer comes up and she belts out her part, and the backup singers do their thing. And all the main members of the band all have their solos, and everybody realizes how great they are. And their parents realize like all this talent they had. And then the kid who does the lights, and then there's the other kid who does the costumes, like everything comes together and everybody has their place, and it's really like a heartwarming family movie, like at that point. But like what you were asking earlier, like, is this when I think of Jack Black, like, and I wonder like how he is in real life, I actually think he is probably Dewey Finn. That's
agree.
what I imagine. And the story you just told about Mike White about how he was his roommate and he was running around, and like this is him. Like I feel like this is what Jack Black really is like, which would probably be exhausting to be around, honestly.
Not just to be around, exhausting to be him.
Yeah, and it's pretty incredible when you mention Mike White, right? Because he was in this and he wrote this movie, and now years later, he's like the writer, producer, everything of The White Lotus, which is like
completely
not
different.
Not the school of rock. And now I know you don't watch Survivor, but like, do you know Mike White was on Survivor?
I didn't know that.
He was a contestant on Survivor about like 10 years ago, probably.
Is this before or after he was famous?
He was famous. He was known. It was School of Rock was out, and people knew him from that, but it's way before The White Lotus,
I didn't realize that they had famous people on Survivor.
They do sometimes. They have former professional athletes, like Jimmy Johnson, the former coach of the Dallas Cowboys, was on Survivor.
Really?
Yeah.
And he lasted?
Every now and then they have like Jeff Kent,
I remember Jeff Kent, yeah.
He was on weird. Survivor. Like,
why would these people be on that show? They don't need the money.
I don't know. And they don't make I'm getting off on a Survivor tangent. They don't make like a celebrity edition. It's not like, oh, Celebrity Survivor. That's not what it is. It's a regular Survivor, and then just like Jeff Kent is there, one of the people, That's
so weird. Another connection, by the way, between School of Rock and High Fidelity, Joan Cusack is in both movies.
That's right. Honorable mention Jack Black movies. I have like 5. I guess you don't have any because you don't.
No, I'll tell you the 3 that I've seen that I didn't include because he's only in one scene.
Okay.
So I still know what you did last summer.
Oh yeah.
The Jackal, that's the one with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And The Fan, that's the one with Wesley Snipes.
But he's barely in those movies,
right,
right?
that's why I didn't count them, but he's in them.
Honorable mentions for me, Nacho Libre, super funny. King Kong, terrible movie. Enemy of the State, you mentioned. Jumanji, the new version of Jumanji, I never paid attention to them because it looks so stupid, honestly. And a movie that I never saw, but that I think is probably really good is Be Kind, Rewind. He works in a video store, I guess, or
Actually, I considered watching that last night.
I think that's probably like one of his more well-respected movies. I should watch it. Anyways.
Okay, we'll be right back after this with some final thoughts.
You're listening to Unscripted.
Hey everyone, Skip here. I'm really excited to invite all of you to follow my new account at Skip Cooks on Instagram and TikTok. I'll be sharing my love of cooking with recipes in the form of 1-minute music videos, all set to some of my favorite songs. Don't miss out, follow me, and let's have some fun in the kitchen.
Unscripted with Skip and Josh is available wherever you listen to podcasts. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. To interact with the show, send an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. Follow the show on Twitter and go to Facebook to like the show page. And now, some final thoughts from the guys.
All right, Josh. Final thoughts for today. I've got 2 television show recommendations for everybody.
Okay.
I know we're only in March, but we've already started to think about like our year-end episode where we talk about our favorite TV shows of the year.
I haven't started thinking about that, so thanks for reminding me.
There's 2 big contenders for sure. One of them I recommended to you is a show called Adolescence. It's only 4 episodes, but each of them is 1 hour long.
Okay.
It's a very intense show. A very, very intense show. Like you told me you watched episode 1 only so far. You haven't even seen anything yet. like in terms of how intense it's going to get. So I would highly recommend that to anybody. And then the other show that I just can't get enough of, and it's definitely up there with the best stuff I watched this year, and I mentioned it before, it's The Pit. The Pit is so freaking good. It is an absolutely incredible TV show. There's 1 episode left. The season finale is coming this Thursday, and I am completely invested, and I can't wait to see what happens.
But is that only on USA Network?
It's on Crave also.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Crave. I didn't realize it because I was recording it every week on USA Network, and then I realized it's on Crave. It doesn't change anything because it still only comes out every Thursday. But like at least on Crave, I don't have the commercials. Just fast forward. But yeah, great. Honestly, great show. Couldn't recommend anything more than those 2 right now.
Okay. Speaking of shows, I've been watching the season 3 of The White Lotus every week, 1 episode at a time as they come out. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because I know you haven't started. So the only thing I'm going to say is I still think that season 2 is my favorite.
Really?
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to tell you, so if you use your phone like for Uber Eats or Uber or Lyft or anything really, if you use your phone, like if you buy tickets online, you're always inundated with these offers. Oh, you can sign up for this for free for 1 month. I don't know if you get those offers.
Of course, every minute.
Right. So I got one the other day. I had ordered a Lyft ride, and then I got an offer for a free month of Apple TV.
Okay.
So I was very excited. So then I tried to claim the offer, and then I got this message saying, you have claimed too many of these offers. You can't claim this offer, which I don't understand because I haven't had Apple TV in over a year. So
right.
I don't understand how I've claimed too many of them, but whatever. So I couldn't get the free Apple TV. No big deal. 24 hours goes by, or maybe 48 hours goes by, and I'm using my PC Optimum app, which I don't know if you've got that one on your phone. And then all of a sudden it says, you can get Apple TV for free for 3 months. 3 months, not just 1, but 3.
Right.
So then I try to claim that one, and it works. So now instead of getting it free for 1 month, which didn't work 2 days ago, now I have it free for 3 months. And in addition to that, I also have Apple Music for free for 3 months.
Oh, that's good. So Apple TV for free. So you got to get cracking on the shows now.
I know, now I'm under the gun. I have 3 months, less a day, to watch Severance, and I want to watch season 2 of Shrinking, and I'm sure there's other stuff that I need to watch.
All right. So great talking to you about Jack Black. Great talking to you about TV. Great talking to you about, of course, March Madness. And I'll talk to you next time.
Have a great week.